overnight, as talent professionals, we're trying to solve how do we upskill people immediately? How do we rethink about jobs? There's just so many factors that have really collided that I think if not right now, we run the risk of just being kind of travelers along versus those that are driving where we go.
I hate to say this, like working for a company that makes a learning management system, but what is a learning management system going to be one day? Are we going to cut through that tension and talk about that a little bit? What is the role of an LMS someday?
This is The Art of the Possible, the show for talent professionals who want to understand the full picture, not just their piece of it.
Hey, Megan, how you doing? We're here.
Jay, we made it. Here we are. I'm excited. I'm excited to start this podcast with you.
I am excited too. I kind of want to get out to everybody. Why are we even doing this? Right? Why are we even here?
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like just by getting to know you and starting to learn some of our natural commonalities, our differences, it got interesting. And what I found was from myself and my experiences as a practitioner working in the talent space my entire career versus your experiences, it shed a lot of light on views that I hadn't thought of before. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, so much to see once I came over to the vendor side and get to peek
Yeah.
into what everybody's doing besides what I was just doing. So it's been an interesting journey about coming over to the vendor side. Spent a long time in L&D, and actually Docebo was a platform that backed me up for a really long time during a particular part of my career. And when I made the jump, I thought I lost a little bit of my identity because immediately it was like, oh, well, now you work for this company and you have to do this. You have to say everything you say about the vendor. But actually, I found it as a huge benefit to get connected with even more people, see even more things that I didn't even know were possible, and open my mind a little bit. How was the transition for you?
It was interesting. I think, especially as you and I have been in conversations and thinking about the idea of doing this podcast, I think the thing that got so exciting for me is there's so many people like us out there, that there's so many people trying to solve the same problems. And the problems, as I've spent time at Docebo, are actually quite consistent with nearly every other role I've ever had in the talent space. So for me, that was a little bit of an aha moment of I don't think we're trying to solve something that's unique to where you and I are today. I think these are bigger ticket items. I think they're bigger challenges that go beyond talent professionals or learning professionals. I think at the end of the day, it impacts people. So I think that was probably my biggest aha. I don't know. What do you think to that?
What happened for me was that I think I had my head down in a lot of, whatever my learning leader or business need was happening. And I was responsible for the learning technology that we had to deliver on these things. And sometimes you had crazy leaders come in with all sorts of crazy ideas. And so over time, finding technologies that could back me up and never have to say, no, we're stuck. We can't do that. We'll have to flip this whole LMS upside down if you want to change this or change that. It was, for me, something where I was always working on and building scalable systems. And actually, honestly, there was a lot of failures. There was a lot of trial and errors, both on the technology side and the people side. And so it really changed for me when I came over to the other side and started to realize that if we bring people together and we share some of these things and get them to share some of their issues and problems, we can start surfacing things. And not everybody has to continue to make the same mistakes and not be able to get ahead. We could all learn from each other and have a little bit of a leg up and start breaking into the crazy new L&D future we're living in now in this age of AI, and everything's changing. There's a lot of new stuff to do that we don't even know how we're going to do yet. We don't have time to spend on the stuff that people have solved before. So let's get all that out on the table and work with each other on that.
I love that. And Jay, you really highlighted to me one of the first ahas I had in getting to know you. I've spent my career really across the various aspects of human resources or talent strategy, right? And while I've dabbled in the L&D space and done that from an internal lens and looking at how do we develop talent strategies that help employees to grow, this is my first time getting exposed to L&D is so much larger than that. And there's a wild environment out there that's not just about how do you grow employees, while that's incredibly important, but it's how do you grow your customers? How do you grow your partners? And so much far further beyond. I feel like that is an area you have far more expertise in. And I've really appreciated learning from you and just even starting to scratch the surface of evolving my mindset, where I think talent strategy across a corporation. I feel like it's been interesting to see how you and other learning professionals are doing it at an enterprise level, at an ecosystem level.
Yeah, and the talent side for me has been a huge unlock as I've been talking to you. So I'm a big video game person. So I'm going to go use this analogy where if you ever played a video game where you're exploring a map and you go switch to the map and there's around and you can only see the places you've been. And as you explore more, it unlocks a part of the map and the clouds disappear. I feel like there's this whole side of learning and development that's on the HR talent development side that wasn't really my area. I always focused on a lot of the customer training, the service training, the every other thing training. I just had found that more exciting and more into certain technology that I was into. And as we sit down and talk and I learn from you your experiences and what's goes on, these things are coming together as we try to architect learning experiences for people. You have to know the whole map. The whole map has to be unlocked. That's how you're going to be the best person to advise. And so every time I talk to you, you unlock a little bit of that map for me. And I'm just excited for both of us to come together and share both of our sides with everyone and maybe even get people to surface some challenges. And then both of us can come together and help move that forward. If I were to ask you a question, because this is something that happened to me when I came over to the vendor side, the credibility slips a little. Are we just doing this because we're from a vendor? So what would you say if somebody said, I've heard a lot of vendor podcasts before, why should I listen?
I love this question. I can't help it. It makes me laugh a little because my title is Vice President of Employee Success. I'm not on the sales side. I wish I got a commission. That would be awesome. I don't get a commission off of this. The best talent strategists out there are, how do I say this? They're fearless learners. They want to hear the challenges. They don't run away from them. They lean into them. And so I love, honestly, Jay, I love the question. And it almost makes me laugh a little because I'm not in it for the paycheck, nor do I get any benefit from increasing sales. In fact, I think a lot of our podcasts will be more focused on the challenges and the strategies on how to solve them and scale them versus trying to sell a particular tool. Because at the end of the day, if we can help other professionals out there face those challenges, think of new ways to solve them, learn from each other on what worked, what didn't work, we're making a difference to the human beings. That's why I went into this career to begin with. Can I ask you the same question? Because I know.
Yeah, please. I got two big reasons. One is core to me and where I came from. So I was an IT person to start. So I spent my first days actually in a server room, New Year's Eve, 1999, waiting for the world to fall apart for Y2K. That was like my first day in IT. I was asked to come in on the holiday to help with that. But I spent a long time in IT. And one thing you learn is requirements dictate solutions. It's not about shiny demos. It's not about maybe a connection and bringing a friend's piece of technology in. The right thing to do is to get your requirements out there and pick the best solution that meets those requirements. I will die on that hill. And if you always follow that, then my second reason falls into place, which is if you make a bad bet and you do it for the wrong reasons and you just bring in a piece of technology just because, and it's not going to be a fit and you force it, it's just going to be something bad to deal with a year later. People are just going to be unhappy. You're going to have wasted time. You're going to have ruined a relationship. So it's really a bad bet to sell anything for any other reason than for it to be the right fit for you. And I feel a responsibility that if I'm helping somebody with a strategy and technologies that I've been close to aren't going to be the ones that meet the requirements, then maybe I'll help you find the one that will. You'll go do it. And you'll know that someday you can come back around again to me. It'll all come back. You know, the L&D community, it's almost incestuous with the way that people bounce around and work with each other for many years and share technologies and share things. So for me, I think it's just good practice to follow that more objective line around it. And really, like you said, focus on the challenges, focus on the experiences, bring that stuff forward so that things people have learned from before others can leverage to move into the future.
And Jay, I think you touch on something there that shows, again, as we led into this, we talked about you and I have different lenses and really very different backgrounds coming to the table, but there's certain areas we could not be better aligned. And I think you just kind of nailed it from my perspective is wherever I've seen the greatest success, either it be myself, my team, leaders above me, every single time, it's when they start with data to validate what is a problem that we're facing. Not assumptions about a problem or a symptom of a problem, but what is the actual core of the problem? Validate that's a problem we choose to solve, and then get innovative and creative and explore what is the best possible way to be solving that problem. That's how I translate it in my own language. What I hear you talking about is, and I'll say this 1,000 times over with my team, is at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the tool. It has to do with have we identified the problem? Are we solving the right problem? And what is our strategy and our positioning on how to solve the problem? The tool is a way to execute the solution.
And it'll be great as we move on with this to talk about how we see lots of different customers in various sizes, shapes, and organizations answer that and deal with that and do that too, because it's very interesting to look at what recipe fits what client or what person the best, situation the best, and is it successful and is it not? Because at the end of the day, I don't think there are a lot of perfect answers for everything. I think there's just lots of choices and trade-offs, and some work really well in certain situations, and that data becomes hugely valuable to share. So I think that really talks about what the show will be about, why the show. We've talked about ourselves a little bit, so we know why us. Do we have one more thing? Why is it now? Like, why right now with this?
It's, oh my gosh, right? So that's probably one of the things that gets me so excited to have these conversations with you is the why now is every single thing around us. I don't know a professional out there who wouldn't say they're anxious about the future. We have so many competing priorities in the environment right now between economical concerns. We've got AI taking off overnight. Where overnight, as talent professionals, we're trying to solve how do we upskill people immediately? How do we rethink about jobs? Does that fundamentally change the way that we deploy talent? There's just so many factors that have really collided that I think if not right now, we run the risk of just being kind of travelers along versus those that are driving where we go. What do you think? What's your right now?
Yeah, well, I think we're at a really important point where everything is changing all around us. People are jumping into different areas of their career. Certain jobs that have been there forever are leaving. Certain standards in learning and development. Think about SCORMs have been around forever. And that was, when you think of learning and development, people like SCORM courses and developing in these huge instructional design tools, these long form courses, all of that stuff was around for a really long time as the way you just did things and the standards. Sure, the models would change over time, but it seems like now in this time, in this very short period of time, things are changing so fast. Things are like there's new things every couple of weeks. There's no time when you find out, oh, this is a great tool to solve this need. Back in the day when it was like, I need to do some graphics for my course. Oh, well, maybe I should learn Photoshop. Photoshop's a massive tool, and there were people that just made it their mission to learn this whole new tool called Photoshop. And we have great Photoshop experts out there because of it. But the model for learning is changing. Now there's 20 different AI tools that came out this week. And if I've heard that some of them are good for a thing, I don't have time to learn all these tools. I'm going to just jump in maybe to one, grab the little piece, do that little thing and move on. So people aren't learning big things anymore and long things. They're just going and getting proficient in a little thing and moving on. So this is fundamentally changing the way people are absorbing content, learning content, moving through this time. What I can't wait to dive into is like how are organizations responding to this, making people feel confident and comfortable in an environment like that? And what can we really do when everything's so crazy like that around us? I'm excited to bring some people on here that are in the thick of that right now and pick their brains about what's working and then what's not, and then maybe collaborate together about the challenges on their table and bringing everybody into that solution. And hopefully folks can take away something.
Yeah, same here. And I'm excited for some of the debates. I'm excited to we hear some strong opinions, right? So I'll talk a lot about a skills based talent strategy. about I have a belief, and we're seeing evidence of talent strategies evolving to need to be far more dynamic. I've also heard other professionals say that's a temporary thing. We're in the middle of a change, but it's gonna go back and stabilize right where it's always been. So I'm noticing these tensions and these pushbacks that truly none of us can predict the future. But I think it's through the discussion and the debate and pushing on each other that we can get a little bit of a better idea of probably land somewhere in the middle. One thing that you had just touched on that I personally feel really strongly about is I believe the how people learn and the expectations of a learner are changing. And I think that we've got real factors to consider. There's something that's been so fascinating to watch this evolve. What if I reserve judgment on what's right or wrong and just accept that how people are learning has evolved? And what if I adapt the way and take some of those learnings, bring it into business, and apply some of that to our own workforce to see what if we piloted some different ways of bring learning into the workforce? So those are just some things that I'm noticing some tension on, but I'm excited to get in some debates about those.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, I'm with you. I love my reels. I cook some recipes off of what I see on Instagram, and I plan some trips on what the hottest thing in this place is. All that quick little hit on there that as you're scrolling, I mean, I get it. That wasn't from my time, but I get what's happening there. And there is some in hook in there that can be leveraged for learning, I'm sure. And I'm excited to find out who's doing this the best, who's skeptical and why, and really get into some of those debates too. And then even the learning itself and the role of all these tools and platforms. I hate to say this, like working for a company that makes a learning management system, but what is a learning management system going to be one day? Are we going to cut through that tension and talk about that a little bit? What is the role of an LMS someday? Is that something someone's just going to vibe code when they need it? Or is it really going to have a really solid enterprise role as it always did? Is it going to be something in the middle? Let's talk about what that could even possibly be and push the boundaries a little bit. I loved geeking out about that topic with folks when they're willing to have that with me.
I think the problem remains scalability, but the how is where a lot of the tension is really coming to life. And it's either a strategic how or it could be a technological how. So I think that's where a lot of our time can be spent is actually on both of those sides.
For sure. I want to ask a question. We talked about like our different backgrounds. So where we see stuff differently, how can we utilize those different views or even create some tension between it to help make things better in this show? What do you think?
Oh, I love that perspective. So I think let me take a stab, but I want you to correct me here. If I were to zoom out and say the value I can help bring to the conversation, the world I live in is first and foremost understanding the human being and in its totality. So I spend some of my time thinking about how do we upscale, up level, what are the skills of the future? But I also spend a lot of my time on what are the contributing factors that can make people happy and ready to be working? What are the things that are the stressors that are around the table? And how do I help to dodge and avoid those for our people, or at least be prepared as they come to the table? So I spend a lot of the time thinking about the whole person. And with that, part of it is the learner and readying them not only mentally, but also through the solutions themselves. The other part of my time is being spent really advising with our business leaders to understand and zoom out of L&D for a second, but taking time to understand the business itself. What is the company trying to achieve? What are the objectives of our CEO and our CFO and our CTOs? What are the things they're trying to solve, whether it be short term, 6 months to 12 months, or more of a long term strategy? And how do we help evolve our people in the workforce to achieve those goals? So it's a lot of the translation of understanding the drivers of our executive team and through their different lenses, and how does that translate into talent drivers and ultimately talent strategy? That's where a lot of the angles I think I can bring to this would be.
Yeah, super important. We get a lot of folks that are implementing technology and then they'll be like, so what should my strategy be? And you're like, wait, why are you asking us that question? You should know. So your whole like really tying to business outcomes and bringing that through to your strategy with your programs and then your people and your technology is super important. I have to say that like always being parts of the other parts of training and learning and development that was mostly focused on product and different modalities. Like I was into the VR, AR 3D simulations and stuff like that. To me, that other side was a little bit more like for management programs and things like that. It was like, yeah, sure, I'll help you with the technology you need to do that, but I'll be over here playing with my HoloLens, or something like that. And it was never really fully opened. But since getting to know you more and getting pulled more into the groups with the CHROs and the CLOs and getting in the rooms to hear what they're talking about, it's what you said. The care for the people was something that shocked me most. Not until I heard them firsthand really caring for what's going to make people feel more comfortable, have safe spaces to learn, to fail, to try, to up level. Like that really kind of got me. And I was like, wow, it's bigger than I thought over on that side of L&D. It really is. And thank God that's kind of there because, someone needs to be thinking about that while we have our heads down in the tech over here. So it really brings a nice balance. And I hope that as we get to talk with really interesting leaders and people, like we can both come at them from those different angles and really surface level everything up for everyone.
I agree. And I think, Jay, when I think about the lens you're bringing to the table, the podcast is called The Art of the Possible. We can sit and talk about what are the challenges people are facing, the business is facing all day long. But until we translate that to innovation and solutions, it's not possible. So I feel like a lot of what I learn from you every single day, every single time we interact, is to me, you help to paint a little bit more of the picture. It is, what is the possible? I know what the challenges are. I know generally how I want to solve it, but I don't know everything about what all different companies are doing out there. What are the most innovative approaches? What opportunities is technology bringing to the table for us? So I really feel that is a lot of where the great tension lies. Is I feel like a lot of the lens you bring is in fact the art of the possible, and I can help bridge that to in solving the real challenges that our leaders are talking about.
No, that's great. Yeah. And I think for me, something that is really important, it stems from something that happened early on in my career. I think it was a very early on ATDs, and I was taking a training class on a particular tool to develop something that was part of a training program. And it was incredibly complicated and difficult, especially for the tools that we had at the time. And the instructor was up there and could tell that a lot of people in the class were just really overwhelmed. And even for people that had a knack for it, it was still overwhelming at times and scary. But he said, never let anything beat you. And it's just a piece of software. It's just a tool. Don't ever let it beat you. And for me, that lit something in me that every time I was maybe not seeing what was possible and had this challenge on my shoulders in training, I wouldn't stop and maybe I needed to spend a little bit more time in this forum or spend a little bit more time talking to these people over here or asking questions over there. So if something's too complex, well, then they might dismiss it. But I say, if it's not complex, then it's going to have a really low ceiling. And if you do something well and you want to scale that, then you're not going to be able to do that because it was very simple. You need something that can handle the complexity. So helping people and bringing them along on a journey that might not be, the easiest one, it's going to be complex, but we can break it down together. We can work on those pieces together. We can figure it out and move along and really dazzle everybody. That's your stakeholder, your learner, your customer, and the people you're beholden to and responsible to. And then you win on both sides and you're successful and you move up and you move on. I think if I can bring that to anybody in this field or anywhere, I've paid it forward, done my job because I've benefited from that myself. And I think that's the least I could do and what I really want to do out of this.
Yeah, I am so with you there. I think back to the moment where you and I were discussing what are we hoping to get out of the podcast? Why would we do this? Is what's the ultimate objective? And it's wild how aligned that we were on this, which is we want this to be folks happy a happy place. We want this to be the place where folks feel, okay, I'm not alone in this. I actually feel very stuck right now. And there's ways that I can learn from others, ask questions, brainstorm together to just help get a little more unstuck. I think that is, if we can achieve that even for one listener, that to me makes it all worthwhile. I really think about in the past, if I'm advising some of our business leaders or some of my own team members, what advice can I give them when they do feel completely stuck? They feel between the rock and the hard place and they don't know which way to go forward. The best thing that I can tell them is just take a step. It's not about having a perfect picture and knowing exactly everything you're going to do over a next period of time or the next 30 steps. Take a step. When you feel that stuck, in the step could be listening into a podcast. The step could be calling an old colleague and asking, how would you maneuver this? It could be reaching out to someone that brings such a different perspective from you that it's going to give you a little bit of a clue to how to unlock yourself. So I think that if I could share that with anybody, even coming out of this first session and this first podcast, if I could share that of if you're joining us and you're finding yourself stuck somewhere, take a step, and it can be as small as reaching out and just learning a little from someone else and having a conversation.
All right, so let's move over to our wow or win of the week. It's definitely one of my favorite parts of the show. It's where we highlight a win from your work. It's similar to everything I've ever used a community forum for. You get in there and you look and you find out what others have done and helps you or solves your problems. And those don't work unless people share. Talk to me a little bit about what you're hoping about sharing these wins. What do you hope to come out of that for people?
I think it's about inspiration, a little celebration and a little inspiration. I think oftentimes we're not celebrating enough. It could be a small accomplishment or a major one, but I do think leaning in and having some inspiration and celebrating each other, I find that wildly contagious. So I'm excited to hear from others. I'm excited to hear about what was the thing you were stuck on? What did you try? And how did you succeed through it?
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could get a bunch of those over time. Then we'd have a nice library of ways problems were solved and things people have challenged that people can go back to. I guess, I mean, I'm very lucky that I got a chance to attend two different gatherings of learning professionals. In some of these cases, there were several people that I ran into that they just hadn't been connected to the right information or person to know that what they were trying to do was actually possible with what they already had. When in reality, a quick little deep dive conversation about what they were actually trying to do was possible with the stuff that they already had today. So for me, it was a huge win to be able to connect that person to the answer to their problem that didn't increase their need for more investment and more expenses. And if they had actually not done that, left, find something else, it would have hurt my heart that they got rid of something that they didn't need to get rid of when it could have done the job all along. So that's a big win for me. But Megan, what about you for this week? What do you got?
So, reflecting on the win of the week, Jay, you got to witness it. It actually was today. We have in flight implementing essentially imagine three technologies at once. Now, to me, the win of the week, why was this meeting a win? Because it's not solved yet. The reason it was the win is this is the first time I've seen so many talented professionals from across the business come together, working together, understanding each other's worlds to solve the same problem. Quite literally, we had people from across the business and soon to pull in even more to help solve a problem. So to me, the win of the week is the unlock by getting all of these different minds and perspectives together. I know this thing is going to land in a really incredible place. Even if we have no idea how we're going to get there yet in by our timeline, which we will, it's the fact that so many of us who don't normally come together are. It's a little bit of a rally cry for sure. So, Jay, as you said, we want to hear your wins. Your wins are inspiring and they're reminders of what a win could look like. So please look for us on LinkedIn. My name is Megan Beane Torres.
You could totally reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Jay Kolbenson. We want to hear from you. Your win, it might be the thing that helps other people achieve their wins.
We're so excited to hear from you and have these conversations together. I don't know about you, Jay, but I'm excited. I'm really excited to get into these conversations, to learn, to be challenged, to explore together. And I'm excited to hit the most interesting topics that are so top of mind wherever we might be at that point in time. So I, I'm ready to go. Thank you for doing this first podcast with me. I can't wait to start to get some of our guests invited and hear from them and learn together.
Yeah, thank you too. It was really great. It's the first one. We're feeling it out. I can't wait to really get in a groove with this stuff. When you said that your big win that that you did was something that I witnessed today, I was like, oh, what was it, plugging in your microphone? And then you did your other thing about the whole thing that we were doing. So I'm waiting. After a few more of these, we're going to get so comfortable where we could do that stuff with each other along the way. Really excited about all of this. And it was a great first episode. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Follow The Art of the Possible wherever you get your podcasts. And if something from today got you thinking, or you're stuck on something you can't figure out, come find us on LinkedIn. We want to hear from you.